Let's go Broncos! Something is happening behind the scenes that nobody outside of Broncos fandom is yet noticing, but when you connect all the dots, it changes everything about the upcoming season. The reigning AFC and AFC West champions aren't heading into a hellish schedule like most 14-win teams would. Instead, things are lining up in a way that feels almost strategic, almost planned. And today, I'm going to analyze that because the road ahead could be even smoother than the one we just accomplished, and because the rest of the division should be very, very nervous. But before we go any further, be sure to hit the like button if you're a true Denver Broncos fan. Only click if you truly believe this team is building something special again. And leave this comment right now. Go Broncos! My heart bleeds orange and blue. I want to see how many true fans are committed to this season. Let's go! Now let's get straight into it. Typically, when a team dominates its division and conference the way the Broncos did, the reward is a brutal schedule the following year. A true gauntlet. But that's not how this is shaping up. Based on last season's records and projected strength of schedule metrics, the Broncos are actually looking at an easier path than the Raiders, the Chiefs, and the Chargers. That should not happen after a 14-win season. And yet, here we are. Part of that is mathematical. The Broncos appear twice on the schedules of those AFC West rivals, which inflates their strength of schedule. But beyond that, when you look at timing, opponent situations, cap issues, suspensions, and injuries, there are some very real competitive edges forming. Let's start with the Chiefs. An early season game at Arrowhead would be ideal. Strip away the late season weather advantage and catch them before they stabilize. There are several factors at play here. First, the Chiefs are sitting in one of the worst salary cap situations in the league, reportedly more than $55 million over. That means major cuts are inevitable just to get compliant. This isn't a tweak, it's a reset. On top of that, Patrick Mahomes is recovering from a significant knee injury that involved both the ACL and LCL. Even optimistic recovery timelines suggest the earliest realistic return would be around week 3. Compare that to Micah Parsons, who suffered an ACL tear the same weekend and has been projected closer to that timeline. Mahomes' injury was more complex. That matters. If the Broncos draw Kansas City early, there's a legitimate scenario where they face them without Mahomes under center. There's also off-field turbulence. Rashid Rice is facing serious domestic abuse allegations and potential suspension. Travis Kelce's contract situation is putting additional pressure on an already disastrous cap sheet. Every layer adds instability. Then there's the road matchup with the New England Patriots. The last time these teams met in the playoffs, the Broncos lost by just 3 points despite missing Bo Nix, Troy Franklin, Brandon Jones, and J.K. Dobbins, and with Pat Bryant going down early in that game. A rematch, especially early in the season, could serve as a statement opportunity. The Patriots are also facing potential 6-week suspensions for key players like Stephon Diggs and Christian Barmore, both involved in serious off-field investigations. Timing here is everything. An early season matchup could mean catching them without 2 foundational starters. Let's talk about the road trip to Arizona. The Cardinals are reportedly exploring trade possibilities involving Kyler Murray. Outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., there isn't much that intimidates you. If a team enters the season uncertain at quarterback, that's a massive advantage for a disciplined defense. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The San Francisco 49ers are set to become the first team in NFL history to play 2 international games in one season. Week 1 in Australia against the Rams, and another as the home team in Mexico City. There are strong indications that the Broncos' road game against the 49ers could take place in Mexico. That's huge. Mexico City eliminates traditional home field advantage for San Francisco and shortens travel logistics dramatically for Denver. Flights from Las Vegas, Los Angeles, or Arizona are only a few hours. Sean Payton has historically embraced extended road trips as team-building opportunities, referencing previous seasons when staying on the East Coast helped strengthen locker room chemistry. If this becomes another bonding stretch, that's an advantage beyond the field. Elsewhere, drawing the Carolina Panthers on the road is far preferable to traveling to New Orleans or Atlanta. The Pittsburgh Steelers are expected to roll with 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, another situation that favors Denver. The New York Jets are reportedly in quarterback turmoil due to draft position and limited free agent options. At home, the Jacksonville Jaguars return after manufacturing bulletin board material over comments from Sean Payton last time around. They could be losing key contributors like Devin Lloyd and potentially Travis Etienne. That's another favorable dynamic. And then there's the Miami Dolphins. They're reportedly preparing for a massive dead cap hit as they move on from Tua Tagovailoa, nearly $100 million tied to a player no longer on the roster. Sean Payton hasn't forgotten the 70-20 loss from that previous matchup. If there's a game circled for redemption, it's that one. When you step back and look at all of it, the math already shows Denver with the softest projected schedule in the division. Add in cap chaos, injuries, suspensions, international travel quirks, and quarterback instability across opponents, and you begin to see why there's real optimism building. And when you really zoom out and analyze everything we just discussed, you start to understand why this doesn't feel accidental. The alignment of timing, opponent instability, and travel dynamics is forming a very real competitive window for Denver to capitalize again. Think about it. If the Broncos catch the Kansas City Chiefs early without Patrick Mahomes fully healthy, that's potentially one divisional divisional win that shifts the tone of the AFC West immediately. Divisional games early in the season are about psychological leverage just as much as standings. If Denver jumps out ahead again, especially in Arrowhead before weather becomes a factor, that reinforces who controls this division. Then you stack that with a potential early matchup against the New England Patriots while they could be dealing with suspensions to Stephon Diggs and Christian Barmore. That's not just a roster adjustment, that's losing impact on both sides of the ball. When you're trying to build early season momentum, facing teams that are shorthanded is exactly how you separate yourself from the pack. Now add the Arizona situation into the equation. A team that may be shopping Kyler Murray heading into the season is not a stable organization. Quarterback uncertainty bleeds into the locker room. Preparation becomes inconsistent. When you face a team unsure about its offensive identity, that's where disciplined teams thrive. Denver thrives in structure. That matters. The Mexico City possibility against the San Francisco 49ers might be the most underrated factor of all. Removing traditional home field advantage while shortening travel strain is a strategic edge. Sean Payton has shown he values team bonding during extended road trips. When players reference previous stays that strengthen chemistry and cohesion, that's not fluff, that's culture building. If Denver can string together road games in the Southwest and then head into Mexico with momentum, that becomes less of a road stretch and more of a controlled campaign. And let's not overlook the Steelers scenario. A 42-year-old quarterback in Aaron Rodgers means volatility. Experience is valuable, but durability and mobility decline. If that matchup lands later in the year, Denver's defensive front could make life very uncomfortable. That's not speculation, that's matchup reality. The Jets' quarterback uncertainty is another subtle advantage. When a team is labeled one of the worst situations to develop quarterback talent due to draft position and limited options, that's not just off-season noise. That usually translates into inconsistency during the season. At home, the Jaguars and Dolphins games carry emotional weight. Jacksonville's bulletin board episode last time around adds fuel. Miami's looming dead cap situation tied to Tua Tagovailoa signals transition. Transition teams struggle with identity, and Sean Payton has not forgotten that previous 70-20 result. Coaches remember those games. They circle them. When you combine all of this with the raw scheduling math, Denver holding the easiest projected strength of schedule in the division, the picture becomes clear. This isn't about hoping things go right. It's about recognizing that several opponents are entering seasons with financial strain, injury recovery timelines, off-field investigations, aging quarterbacks, or identity questions. Meanwhile, Denver's coming off dominance. 14 wins. AFC West champions. Conference champions. That carries confidence. Confidence carries preparation. Preparation wins close games. The league doesn't hand out advantages. You have to capitalize on them. But the early indicators suggest that the Broncos are positioned to do exactly that again. And here's the part that should really grab your attention. Championship windows in the NFL don't stay open forever. They open quietly, and they close fast. What separates good franchises from dominant ones is the ability to recognize when the league shifts in their favor, and then attack without hesitation. Right now, everything we're seeing suggests that the Denver Broncos are standing at the front edge of one of those windows. Look at the division. Kansas City is financially cornered. Being more than $55 million over the cap is not a minor adjustment. It forces painful decisions. That means depth gets thinner. Rotation players disappear. Veterans restructure or get cut. And if Patrick Mahomes isn't fully ready at the start of the season, that early stretch becomes survival mode for them. If Denver capitalizes early, the pressure flips instantly. Now shift to the broader AFC picture. New England could be dealing with suspensions and the class